Sit back, relax, and enjoy as Don Tony gives you news and reviews from AEW.
Welcome to the party! Oh my God! Thanks for coming, Sammy! NXT.
And it's over! Kross is here to ransack NXT souls!
And Indy Wrestling. It's Wednesday night, Don-O-MITE.
Know what's happening in the world of wrestling without the hate and clickbait. And now, your host, Don Tony.
So all I wanted last week was for Miro to beat Darby Allin for the TNT Championship, not follow the same path as they did with Lance Archer not too long ago, and please, no Kip Sabian interference. Thank you, AEW. Thank you. You made this person happy tonight. Nothing against Darby Allin. I think Darby Allin has done a phenomenal job as TNT champion. But, my God, I mean, everybody has been talking about Miro's use in AEW and this and that. And he's not 50 years old. He's probably in the prime of his career. All right, 2020 was kind of messed up. But as I took a few moments earlier to glance at Kenny Omega's AEW Heavyweight Championship reign since he won the belt, when I look at Shida's title defenses over the last 6 months, and you're going to bitch to me about Miro? And the funniest thing about it is the loudest bitches about Miro's use in AEW are not even AEW fans. What do you care? What do you care what they do with him? I know a lot of my AEW fans, friends out there, so be patient. I think they'll do right with Miro. And as we talked about the last couple of weeks, AEW's got to break that stigma of not utilizing big men to their potential. Is Miro this huge monster? No, but he's a big mofo. And him talking all this stuff, I'm anybody with a title. I'm sorry, I'm coming after you. It's empty threats. When this big man says it, nothing happens. And this big man says it and nothing happens. And Lance Archer says it and nothing happens. And this bird says it and Brian Cage is the FTW champion. I don't even remember the last time he had a title defense. So tonight, I think AEW did the right thing with Miro winning the TNT championship. So kudos for them. Kudos for NXT for having a great show last night. Those viewers being down, that's a product of the last 3 weeks with NXT. We have talked about it for the last 3 weeks. There is no off season for WWE. And I'll repeat it. I'm sorry for saying it again. The first night that they were on Tuesday, they should have treated it like a pay-per-view. Every AEW fan that never gave NXT a shot for the last year and a half, you have everybody's attention. Just like Eva Marie. Do I have your attention now? NXT should have done it. They should have had Eva Marie open up NXT on that first Tuesday. Do we have your attention now? And you had all of these extra eyes. You did in the 8s. Not too bad. Now they're back on the levels from Wednesday night. 697. Unacceptable. But I look at the glass half full, not half empty. They had a great show last night. Couple of things I had a problem with. Some of the storylines are just absolutely dopey. And yeah, we're going to repeat it again for the 6th week in a row, everyone. 6th week in a row. What's going on with this person? She don't have COVID. I'm getting more and more people saying to me that she's on Instagram posting feet pictures. Just because she's kneeling on the floor with no shoes or socks on doesn't make it a foot fetish photo. But anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Dynamite. We'll talk about AEW going back on the road, which you and I knew was happening July or August. You've heard it, a broken record. I've been talking about it since last summer, July or August, 2021, July or August. Just, you did the math. paid close attention of what was going on, and you figure how many millions of Americans here in the United States approximately that would get the vaccine, July or August. Well, AEW is going back on the road, and they are going back full capacity per each state's guidelines. We will talk about that a little bit later, but how's everybody doing tonight? I'm very happy to be here today. You know, had a little bit of a disappointing doctor's appointment earlier today. I got another one this Friday. So right smack in the middle, we're doing this show. Earlier today, Mish and I were on Patreon. We did about 90 or 100 minutes for our Patreon family out there. If you want to go check it out, patreon.com/DonTony. I'm going to do, no prize involved. I'm going to do a who dat in a couple of minutes. I have the chat screen halfway. By the way, show your colors, everyone. Big shout out to everybody live. How you all doing? If you want to say hello to everyone, in fact, what you could do is, if you want to post where you're from, you don't have to put your phone number or your address. You can post your country or your city and state. Let everybody who's watching the video, because not everybody sees the chat display when they watch it back on YouTube. Some of my friends out there check this out through Vimeo, which is another outlet, Periscope. So, yeah, Crazy Cruiserweight, Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to you, my friend. I will get into your super chat in a moment. And this is cut off a little bit, but let everybody, you know, just post a little hello, and you could see we got the whole world representing today. And for those like Nia Rofé and others that are right around the Gaza Strip with all that crazy shit going on between, oh my God. I mean, I see the war that Sami Zayn and Andrew Yang are kind of having with each other. I'm not on the side of Israel. I'm not on the side of either side. I'm on the side for peace. And I know that sounds like a politically correct, soft, generic thing to say. No, but I am. I mean, it's about time. You know, there's so much fucking hatred going on. You know, this person bombs this person bombs a bus, I can't even wear my Sami Zayn shirt, the one he did for, I was going to do the whole Sami Zayn dance. I can't even do it yet. How can they do that when Sami Zayn's talking about people getting killed in the Gaza Strip? So, anyway, Don Tony, reel yourself back in. Let's have a good show. All right, we had enough shout-outs. Little lighthearted fun. I don't want to embarrass anyone out there, but I'm very curious to see who out there watches more than WWE programming or AEW programming. During tonight's Dynamite, they flashed some people in the crowd. I honestly don't remember if they mentioned this person's name. So if they did, and I see a plethora of people getting this name right, kudos to you. But I'm just curious. Again, no prizes involved, but get your typing fingers ready and tell the world who you think this is. Everyone, who dat? Very curious. See? All right. So, well, actually, that doesn't mean that they put the name on there, so we'll see. We'll see who puts it on there. By the way, got some, look, yeah, because of the bubbly truck today. You saw the opening of the show. Yeah, look, the bubbly truck. It's a little cut off, but let's put this back. Who dat? It's not Roman Reigns, but yeah, did they mention that it was Rocky Romero sitting around rings? I didn't pay attention to hear if they sounded, but Rocky Romero's having a pretty damn good 2021. If some of you out there haven't paid attention to Rocky Romero, start paying attention. Because that guy's name, you might get a little bit more familiar with him in 2021. So, so props to all of you. But, hey, earlier we had a little bit of the bubbly truck. And I know, of course, I don't blame anybody who is comparing this to Austin and the beer truck. So funny how so many forgot about Kurt Angle in the milk truck as well. Look. Let's be honest. For Daly's Place, you're not going to bring in a gigantic beer truck. This is a very tiny area, and they did it with water. They didn't do it with champagne. They did it with water. All right. Now, if you watch the segment closely, all the Pinnacle had to do was go to the left side of the corner of the ring, and they wouldn't have gotten wet because, obviously this was really far away. But, I had these in the fridge. I'm getting a little bit addicted to them. They're not open yet because I'm not going to have, but these are good. I don't know if you've ever had this, a little bit of the bubbly. They're sparkling water with a little hint of flavoring. So I'm going to drink a pair of these during the show. Benjamin, how do I know it's water? Because I ask people. I do have friends that wrestle on TV, people who work behind the scenes. I have relatives of people who are on Patreon that work for the two big companies. I don't have to DM, post it publicly. I DM people, hey, how's this person doing? Hey, you hear anything about this? Hey, how you feeling? Hey, what's this? Is that? All right, because I don't name drop it and I don't gush publicly, that I ask. That's why I usually get things right over here, if you notice. Prediction's a little bit different. But when you want to search information again, go by the phrase, do you want to be first or do you want to be right? That's why a lot of the things that you hear out there never reach. Did you hear me ever talking about Booker T and that they removed all this, they decided against, they pulled the Triple H feud stuff from the documentary? No, never talked about it Monday because I asked someone that's pretty much in the know that I trust. Doing a hotline since 97, you do get some friends and connections over the years. By the way, I don't have any of his information in front of me. But I got a late email from a friend who used to wrestle here in the Northeast for USA Pro Wrestling, for Ring of Honor, NWA TNA, and he told me, for anybody that goes back to the New York indie wrestling scene about 15 years ago, even 20 years ago, you might remember a tag team, Havok and Papa Don. Remember that tag team? Used to always feud with the Christopher Street Connection, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and others. Papa Don died in the last day or two. And I don't remember his age. He was not, old in any way, shape, or form. I'd be surprised if he was, 50, and he passed away. So I know some of you that did follow wrestling back then or even hung out with us back in the day. Papa Don. No, wait. What am I saying? Havok passed away. Don Tony, wake up here. Havok passed away, not Papa Don. Havok. Papa Don broke the news online, and I got a DM from somebody earlier today. So Havok, rest in peace. I will give a little bit more of a proper, respect tribute to him tomorrow on the show. So definitely want to mention. I don't know if it was called. I'm not even speculating what the cause was. So anyway, as one of the young bucks said today, SC you later. Instead of see you later, SC you later. It is official. Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, no longer a tag team. If you missed the match tonight, Christopher Daniels got busted up pretty hard way. And, this is why when you're against a giant piece of steel, all right, this is a bad example. It's one of my portable lights that I'm not using right now. Let's pretend this is the ring post. Let's put the head this way so when your head is leaning against the ring post, you don't do this, pretending it's like a foot with $10,000 sneakers on. You don't shove somebody's head into the post. The post ain't gonna bend. What happens, Christopher Daniels gets busted open pretty bad. I mean, he was gushing blood. Now, I'll say one thing about Dynamite tonight and the split of SCU. This is just opinion. I understand Christopher Daniels is a shell of what he used to be. That's what happens when you get older. You feel it in here. You feel it in your soul, but your body doesn't communicate. Your body doesn't, go along with you. Reality kicks in. I'm just expressing opinion. I thought tonight how they handled SCU's official split, career done as a tag team. I thought it was one of the worst, terrible, disrespectful treatments towards two guys who have had a pretty damn good run as a tag team, not just in AEW. And I understand. These guys probably wanted it that way, but still, perception is so goddamn important. And I got to be honest with you. These guys lose the match, the whole storyline for a while now. The first match they lose, they split up. It's similar to the Ric Flair storyline. The first match he loses, he's forced to retire. And I swear to you, you cannot blame it on the blood. Do not blame it on the blood, because they focused in on that blood. And I could picture somebody that in production for TNT, that's such good shit. They kept focusing. They didn't put it out there. They zoomed in. The blood was pouring. He's gushing. So don't say, they just, soon as they lost the match and Kazarian is in the corner and reality is sinking in that they're done as a tag team, this legendary team, historic, Hall of Fame worthy, maybe not on a national level like WWE Hall of Fame, and literally 10 seconds after the match is over, we need to go to the locker room. We got to get a camera in the locker room. Get everybody in the locker room. And all it is Moxley and Eddie Kingston throwing random T-shirts and garbage and nothing. And I'm saying to myself, talk about blowing your load over and over and over again because it's TNT. That is the TV deal, the big money deal. Blowing your loads on stuff on TV, and then not even a hug, not even letting the fans organically cheer these guys, not even a thank you, not even half the locker room coming out and clapping, because of what happened. No, literally 10 seconds later, we got to go to the bank. Honestly, they spit. They spit in the face. And I don't want to hear this shit. Well, Christopher Daniels went along with it, and Kazarian, it was their idea. I thought that was so goddamn disrespectful. That's WCW shit. WCW, one of the things that used to turn people off back then is you would have talented mofos wrestling in the ring. And you'd have Shivani. It's not his fault. He was told to do this. You had Shivani. You had Bobby Heenan. Whoever else, Mark Madden. Not really Mongo, because Mongo really didn't know like a lot of this the stuff once the NWO came around. He wasn't like really in depth with the play-by-play. He was more color. But they would talk about the NWO and Hollywood Hogan and Hall and Nash and Sting and Lex Luger. Everything else but the people in the ring. And there's been shoot interview after shoot interview after shoot interview for those stars they were so disrespected because they wanted everybody to focus on something else. I thought that was so garbage tonight. So garbage tonight. There is no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it. We got to go to the back. We got to get a camera there. Camera there. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Another thing I want to talk about that I thought was stupid, and I'm sorry for going back and forth at the beginning of the show from last night, but, a lot of you last week said, I'd like to have a little additional NXT talk in here. Now, by now, a lot of you have seen a lot of recaps out there. You know the match results, so I'm not going to get into a lot of specifics. But one thing I thought was so awful yesterday was the Karrion Kross Finn Balor confrontation. Talk about over-scripted. You know why I'm here? I want my rematch. Trust me, I want it more than you do. So over-choreographed, but that I don't even have a problem with. Think back last week. Think back of the great brawl that went down. Karrion Kross, Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne. Great brawl, right? Finn Balor's music hits, Pete Dunne's music hits, Kyle O'Reilly's music hits. So yesterday, Finn Balor comes out right at the beginning of the night after Karrion Kross chokes out Austin Theory. Now, if you think of last week, storyline-wise, think of last week. Again, this is none of the wrestlers' faults. This is their writing. How come Kyle O'Reilly didn't come out there and immediately get pissed off when Finn Balor and Karrion Kross are agreeing to face each other? What was Kyle O'Reilly, taking his shit? What about Pete Dunne? You're afraid of me, mate. Prove me wrong. You're afraid of me, mate. Prove me wrong. I'm the biggest badass motherfucker. Prove me wrong, mate. Prove me wrong. And you know me. I'm one of the biggest Pete Dunne fans out there. Soon as Karrion Kross and Finn Balor are agreeing on a lot of stuff, where was he? Where was he? Fixing his hair? Putting it in a ponytail? How come he didn't come out and object to that? Was he taking a shit too? Toilet paper? It was so, when you actually think about that, it was so awfully done yesterday. What was the point of having those two guys come out last week? What was the point of Pete Dunne cutting promos 2-3 weeks in a row? Karrion Kross is afraid of me. Prove me wrong, mate. Comes out. Nothing this week. Nothing. You take one step further with this stuff and you realize how stupid some of it is. And I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to throw it out there because I mentioned it earlier today on Patreon. MSK. I have this shirt. I wear it not to get people to say, oh, very cool shirt. I wear it because I support the guys. I like their work. I'm a fan of theirs. But I don't know if anybody's paid attention closely. But the fans that are live there don't seem to be into MSK as much as it's portrayed online. And I think that's because WWE is depending too much on social media for character development and not necessarily the show itself. Fans are not into MSK in the building as much as you think. If you pay close attention, you see what I'm talking about. But last night, all the buzz with NXT was because of one person. Darryl. Met fans from the 80s are getting flashbacks, especially his first game back at Chase Stadium when he was an LA Dodger. Darryl. That's what everybody was talking about yesterday. Darryl Sharm, the referee for NXT. He does the sunset flip. And everybody's talking about it. Oh, everybody's triggered. Oh, if that was an AEW, people would be ripping it to pieces. My answer to what I saw yesterday with that, I hope none of these people ever look at midget matches from back in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s. I hope people don't go back and look at Santos Ramos or Gilberto Roman and others. Referees sometimes would get physical and animated during matches. Sure, it was more for midget matches because it was comedy related. What he did yesterday was comedy related. All right? It's not the first time a referee has gotten a little physical and done a move in a match. People losing their shit yesterday, ripping the leapfrog. What did I say? Sunset flip. Sunset flip is what Rocky Johnson used to do when he would win. The leapfrog. I mean, come on. I mean, there's people out there who really need to lighten up a little bit. Oh, he does one leapfrog, and people are ripping the shit out of WWE. Seriously. You see that out there. Again, I don't know if people are just trying to get tweet banged or not, but ridiculous to complain about that. I thought it was stupid. Now, a couple of things right off the bat. Very important stuff. Ricky Starks, remember last week, his match with Hangman Page? You remember how Ricky Starks kind of got dropped on his head? And remember I said that he immediately got up and we were like, whew, thank God, because it looked so scary in the ring. Well, it ends up that Ricky Starks does have a small fracture in his neck. He did get injured last week. Now, do I blame the referee for continuing the match? No. I don't blame anybody. This is not Matt Hardy, Guevara stuff. But, yeah, we're going to get to Orange Cassidy in a minute, franchise. But Ricky Starks does have a fracture in his neck. He will be out for probably 3 to 6 months. And something like that, you do not fuck around with. You do not screw around with. Now, Tony Khan was on Busted Open Radio. You know, when he first made the comparison to Shawn Michaels from the mid-'90s, I was like, wait a minute. You can't compare Shawn Michaels' career from the late 90s, actually the late 90s, if you think about it, to Ricky Starks. But the more I thought about it, yeah, Chris, I know they said 3 months. Yeah, I know. But unfortunately, Dr. Khan, he doesn't actually... he's not a doctor, and he doesn't know the specifics. And a neck injury, a fractured neck, even when you're in physical sports, 4 to 6 months. Obsessive heavy rehab, unless you're John Cena, a freak of nature, it's going to be 4 to 6 months, likely. It's got to heal on its own. There is no magic pill that you could take that could speed up that healing process. So I know, look, Tony Khan saying 3 months. He's not trying to swerve people or sway people or clickbait anybody. No. I mean, I understand why he says that, but in all reality, they're going to take their time with him recovering. This is sort of a blow for Ricky Starks, but what Tony Khan was saying is that, this could be a blessing in disguise, that Ricky Starks could actually maybe do a few other things, like Shawn Michaels branched out, did a little commentary, a little this, a little that. And, at first when I heard it, you can't compare the careers, but then I thought about it a little more. I could picture Starks doing a little talking segment, doing a little bit of other stuff. So that's actually not that bad of an idea. Left Twix says Austin came back 3 months after a neck fusion. I understand that. But Ricky Starks, there isn't just one bone in the neck. I broke my neck. Show me where the fracture is. Do you know where Austin's fracture was? Do you know where Ricky Starks? So just because you see broken neck, look up a little bit more specific and you'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway, Ricky Starks, in my opinion, I think when Tony Khan said that this might be a blessing in disguise for Ricky Starks, my honest opinion, you know why I think it may be a blessing in disguise? Because it did not feel, honestly, biggest AEW fans I think will agree with me on this, it did not feel that Ricky Starks was getting any type of a push anytime soon. He probably would have had a match against Christian Cage, and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like he was going for any titles. It just felt like he's part of Team Taz, have a little thing here and there and there. I mean, how many times Ricky Starks wrestled on Dynamite in the last 6 months? So 3, 4, 5 months? How many times do you think he would have wrestled? In matches that really meant something? Probably not too many. So in a way, this might be a blessing in disguise because Ricky Starks, I don't know how much he would have done in the next 3 to 5 months anyway. So, couple of super chats, if you don't mind. Big Armada. He noticed that during the submission at the end of the match, technically Miro's shoulders were on the mat. Do I think that'll play into the storyline? It is possible. Good observation. It is possible. I don't know if they'll go that deep with this because, look, they immediately diverted the attention to the beatdown that took place after. Having the beatdown to Darby Allin and Sting right after is to divert the attention away from Miro just winning the championship and, again, trying to shove 3 pounds of bologna in a 1 pound bag. Instead of letting the fans soak in what happened a little bit, not even 10, 20 seconds. No, let's do this, and immediately change the subject. Same thing with SCU earlier. Instead of having at least a hug, at least letting the fans organically, instead of having the human cue cards at ringside, the human cue cards. For people that don't know why I say that, I'm not going to use the Jericho Judas theme as an example. Because a lot of people, because of that creative guy online that did a spoof of Jericho's song that, all the AEW wrestlers around ringside, they're the ones that force everybody, they're forced to sing Judas. No, they're all part of a family that want the product to be better. So they go along with it to get the fans energized, to get the fans into it. Nobody's being forced that they have to do anything. That's the difference between a lot of people online that have no extended family. You have an entertainment company and you're a part of it. You're on Broadway, off Broadway, whatever. Bullshit theater. And everybody's rooting for everyone and then you hear somebody's music. Some people do it because they care. So I'm not using the Judas thing for an example, but it's no secret. AEW does have their fans right around the ringside area to start chants. So they get the AEW fans to build on those chants as well. It is what it is. But we don't get any really ridiculous chants, though. If you really pay close attention, when they started the This Is Awesome chant tonight with Miro and Darby Allin, that match was pretty one-sided, but I could see why people were really into that match. There was some crazy-ass bumps in it, but you don't see things way over the top. Tell me the last time, other than singing the Judas, when was the last time that you saw something in the ring that was flat-out awful and the chant is a complete opposite of it? Doesn't really happen all that much. So anyway, yeah, I don't think they're going to go that deep as far as Miro, but they can kind of allude to that. So Darby Allin, Miro's shoulders were down. Maybe he's entitled to a rematch down the line. Anything is possible. Crazy Cruiserweight. We need to send another podcaster who you never name drop me on their show. Kidding with you. We need to send Jason Solomon a gift basket for getting an AEW world title shot. What is the fascination with the 959 big spots? The 959 happens too often. Much love to Crazy Cruiserweight, who actually pays attention to my shows. Several years ago, I created a move called the 959. And it happens a lot on SmackDown. It happens a lot on AEW. NXT a little different because they do have a little bit of an overrun. Yesterday, NXT paid USA Network to have an overrun up until 10:09, even though it didn't go to 10:09. But what the 959 is when there's only about a minute left of TV and the match hasn't gone home yet, somebody will just nail a move out of nowhere and the match is over. The 959. I think, didn't we one time bring it up? Yes. Austin Ants remembers. Kofi Kingston. When Kofi was world champion. There was one time where he was facing, I think, Kevin Owens in the ring. Kevin Owens hit like 3 buckle bombs and some other stuff. He faced Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn hit like 4 or 5 moves, one after the other. And then Kofi, with a little innocent kick to the head, the 959. Suddenly the match is over and you're like, huh? So that's what the 959 is. But as far as Orange Cassidy, there is concern of what happened tonight. Tony Schiavone coming out there and announcing the 3-way. Something that a lot of you, I'm sure you know this already, but I notice on social media, a lot of people don't think about this. Spur of the moment, which is totally understandable. The companies, when they have title matches on the line, number one contenderships on the line, stipulations on the line, they will always discuss the what if. The what if. What if somebody gets injured during the match? What if, there's an accidental pin? What if something goes against it? Now, from what I understand early on, and again, I'm going to make this clear, I don't know 100% if this is definite, but again, I trust people, who I seek out. I don't tweet for my news. I DM for my answers. And what was supposed to go down tonight, Orange Cassidy beating Pac And as a result, it would be Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega, one-on-one. What happened was, it appears Orange Cassidy may have legit been knocked for a loop. If you notice and you paid attention, when he got hit and he was laying in the corner and they went to commercial, this guy was not moving. I mean, he was moving, but this guy did not get up, did not attempt anything, was just laid out in the corner. So Orange Cassidy laid out in the corner, Kenny Omega nailing Pac. It's possible him nailing Pac might have been the closest thing that could have legitimately supposed to happen in the match. But they obviously got into Aubrey Edwards' ear to do the double count out. They needed Pac to be knocked out because Orange Cassidy was not going to pin him. Now, I know I'm splitting hairs here, but it's my job to do that because AEW always did this thing about adhering to all their stipulations and all, of their rules and everything else. Some people understand the issue with Page versus Cage number one contendership. Somebody pointed out to me that they didn't actually talk about that during the match. But when you talk a week before about this person being number one contender, and you announce the match next week, and you bring up that somebody's a number one contender and somebody's a number two contender, unless you're brain dead on your deathbed and you don't put two and two together, why are you bringing up number one contenders and number two contenders where you have no intention on having the winner of that match become the number one contender, right? So I ask you all this, and Cruiserweight, I have to take your thing down to prove my point. This was the record. These were the top 5 of the heavyweights today. All right? Yeah, okay, all right. Hangman Page drops all the way to number 5. But tonight's match ended up in a double countout. They both lost. Pac lost. Orange Cassidy lost. So obviously Jon Moxley is going to be involved in a tag title match at Double or Nothing, so Moxley can't be included in that. So explain to me why someone else on the list doesn't suddenly move up in the numbers. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I personally think, I know you might think, DT, you're thinking way outside the box. Oh, and I can't wait for my vaccination idea to talk about later. I think I nailed a wonderful idea that I double-checked and no one has come up with this idea. I'm going to throw it out to you later. I think the only reason why they're having Hangman Page versus Brian Cage is to explain why no one else in this top 5 list is getting a championship shot at Kenny Omega. Moxley's in a tag title match. Page and Cage are having a rematch for what? Why is the FTW title not on the line? Explain this to me. Now, if you look at these numbers, shouldn't Hangman Page shoot all the way back up to number 1 or number 2? He's 8-1. So I truthfully believe, I'm serious, I think the only reason why Page versus Cage is happening on pay-per-view is simply because of that. Because of that. So let's hope Orange Cassidy, nothing serious. Some people early on are worried concussion. Obviously this guy didn't get back up. So, he did literally, his mind was orange juice at the time. It was all turned into pulp for a little while. Let's hope he's okay. But by doing the 3-way, if anything goes down and Orange Cassidy is unable to compete 2 weeks from now, they still have Pac in the match. And I got news for you. I don't think anybody would complain if you had Pac versus Kenny Omega for the championship. But I do want to point this out because we've talked about it before. Only took me 5 minutes. I spent 5 minutes today looking at Kenny Omega's heavyweight title reign since he became AEW heavyweight champion. I'm only talking about title defenses. Not talking about six-man tags and all this. I'm talking about straight-up title defenses. And I also, Kavan, good one. He says Orange Cassidy's juices were squeezed. I like it. I mean, we don't want to see Cassidy legitimately knocked for a loop, but still, not for a Fruit Loop. But I looked at Kenny Omega's championship title defenses since he won the belt. December 2nd. By Double or Nothing, Kenny Omega will have had that title for about 6 months. 6 months, half a year. Shida has had the title even longer, much longer. But I focused on Shida's title defenses over the last 6 months since she beat Anna Jay in the middle of November. Nothing against Anna Jay, but since she beat Anna Jay in November, I want you to check this out. By the way, this is white peach bubbly. I already know how it tastes. I've had it already. It tastes very, very bland. It's just sparkling water with a little bit of fruit flavor to it. Very, very light. No calories. How many title defenses do you think Abaddon has had in the last 6 months? I'm curious. I closed the chat thing already, but do you have any idea? In 6 months. Did I say Abaddon? In 6 months, Hikaru Shida has beaten Abaddon to retain the Women's Championship on January 6th. She beat Ryo Mizunami at AEW Revolution on March 7th. And she beat Ty Conti April 21st on AEW Dynamite. That is it. Yeah, franchise said Abaddon by mistake. Abaddon was the first title defense, but, since November. She has had 3 title defenses in about 6 months. It'll be 6.5 months when she loses it to Britt Baker, which I think will happen. Hikaru Shida's championship reign, not her fault, but it has been terrible. AEW did an absolute shit job with Hikaru Shida with this championship. I understand they don't want to put a plethora of focus on the women's division because they have a lot of women that are coming up in the ranks, and some of them are not ready for prime time. People have a field day on their Botchamania sites, but it's been smoke and mirrors. Let's be honest. She is one of the better talents in women's wrestling, and AEW has done very, very little to really show that. Now, as far as Kenny Omega goes, we cannot include Joey Janela because that was not a title match. Joey Janela would have gotten a title shot if he would have won that match. So, in the last 5.5 months, May 30th will be 2 days shy of 6 months for Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega has been heavyweight champion since December 2nd. How many title defenses do you think Kenny Omega has had in the last 6 months? Not including Double or Nothing. I'll let the chat room let that sink in. Just a couple of second delay. So how many title defenses do you think he's had in 6 months? 4. He beat Ray Phoenix on January 6th. He beat Jon Moxley at AEW Revolution. You remember the exploding barbed wire stuff. He beat Matt Sydal on the May 24th Dynamite. And he beat Rich Swann at Impact Rebellion. So if you take away the Impact pay-per-view, since it's not an AEW pay-per-view or AEW show, he had 3 title defenses in 6 months. Kenny Omega's reign has been absolute smoke and mirrors. I mean, I remember, wrestlers back in the day holding multiple titles, and talk about doing the least with this. I mean, it is just smoke and mirrors. And guess what? Impact Wrestling fans did not fall for it. They did not fall for it. And guess what? AEW fans didn't fall for it either. Because AEW fans are not clamoring to see what Kenny Omega is going to do to embarrass Impact Wrestling with their title. You know, when you have a favorite and that person invades another promotion and wins their championship, you kind of want to watch what they do in the other feds. Nothing. Remember 2 weeks ago? I brought it up last Friday. 2 weeks ago, AEW world champion Kenny Omega wins the Impact Championship. Their rating was 120,000 viewers. And what did people blame it on? The NFL draft. Remember that? 120,000 viewers, they blamed it on the NFL draft. Well, the NFL draft did not go into next Thursday. Do you know the following Thursday, they only scored 123? It only went up 3,000 viewers. What excuse do you give then? There's no excuse for it. That is a piss-poor, pathetic number. Now, before we get back into the shows a little bit, comment a little bit more, AEW did announce that they're going to be returning to touring, which is freaking phenomenal. I don't know if do I have my image available? I don't think I do. No, I don't. All right, not a big deal. But AEW issued a press release, and they announced that in July, they are going to start touring again. July 7th, they're going to go to the James L. Knight Center in Miami, Florida. Full capacity, by the way. Then they're going July 14th to the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas, which is not too far from Austin. In fact, it might be a suburb of Austin. Then on July 21st, they're going to the Curtis Culwell Center in Garland, Texas for Dynamite. So July 7th, 14th, and 21st, they will be having Dynamite outside of Daly's place. Now, if you remember me breaking down these, the rumors of, returning to touring, a couple of things AEW and WWE are going to take advantage of, and that is nice weather. Anywhere they can do an outside venue, there's always the risk of weather, and that is the issue more than anything. But as we talked about even on Monday, it's not just returning to stadiums or returning to buildings. These buildings have to have enough employees to run the places. You can't just return to an arena, and you see what goes on with the news where, some places, a lot of states having a difficult time getting workers because they make more money to sit at home and collect unemployment. So you're going to see AEW and WWE really lean towards similar states to reflect what's going on. So, it's not just what the state does, because in Florida, look, DeSantis, removed all the restrictions. So if you're indoors, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, if you watch NXT, everybody's still wearing a mask. Well, if DeSantis lifted all the restrictions, why are people still wearing a mask? Because WWE is going with the CDC guidelines. And CDC guidelines is if you're having a gathering indoors, especially indoors, you need to wear a mask. People who are fully vaccinated, even if you go indoors to an NXT event, you still have to keep a mask on. It is what it is. Until this pandemic is officially over, which will happen in July to August, until then, you still got to follow some guidelines. There's rumors of, WWE going to New York, going back to the Garden. There's a few things going on, but the most important is that AEW is going back on the road. Now, I don't know if anybody noticed this today, because it was kind of discussed once before, but AEW pretty much made it official today. In 2 weeks, they're not having Dynamite on May 26th. In 2 weeks, Dynamite will air on that Friday, May 28th. So what AEW is planning is having a live Dynamite on Friday, May 28th, which I'm assuming is going to go head-to-head with SmackDown. Then Saturday, they're doing a fan fest, and it'll be interesting to see how close the fans get to the wrestlers since they're still in Florida. I'm assuming the fan fest will be outdoors. And then on Sunday will be Double or Nothing, May 30th. So take note of that, because in 2 weeks, I'm assuming that my show in 2 weeks will probably be more of a NXT recap than anything else. So make note of that. Now, a couple other tidbits for those that want to make note of this. If you live in the St. Louis, Missouri area, they were supposed to have an event June 23rd at the Shavitz Arena, I think it's pronounced. That has been rescheduled to Friday, November 5th. And it says the live event will be an AEW TNT taping. It'll be a taping. So obviously that'll be for the following Dynamite. The event that was supposed to take place at the Uno Lakefront Arena in New Orleans has been rescheduled to January 12th of next year. So they're now starting to really go forward and plan events outside of Daly's place. So good. About time. I mean, thank God. Seriously. And speaking of thank God, I know that's part of the American Dream, Cody Rhodes' promo today. I don't know. All right, he rambled a little bit. Big deal. I mean, people crucifying this guy on social media because he rambled for 7 minutes just to announce that it's going to be Anthony Ogogo. It's going to be Anthony Ogogo versus the American Dream, Cody Rhodes. Not the American Nightmare, but the American Dream, Cody Rhodes, at Double or Nothing. Cody's promo was a little long. You know, he was bringing up about America and saying that Anthony Ogogo didn't come from the UK to have the England dream. He came here for the American dream. He brought up Bruno Sammartino, who came from Italy, not to have the Italian dream, but to have the American dream. So all these play off on words. Now he's calling himself the American dream on this. This is all designed to try to get Anthony Ogogo more over as a heel. I thought they were going to do a stipulation that the winner of the match gets to have their national anthem played in the arena. Personally, that's what I would have done. They could have even done a flag match. I mean, when Anthony Ogogo comes out there with a flag, I mean, don't you think the flag should come into play? In fact, I'll tell you the truth. I think next week that they should do an audible and have Anthony Ogogo or Who Dat. My God, I'm saying Who Dat should be on TV. What's wrong with you, DT? Who Dat should come out and say, let's up the odds. American Dream. Whoever wins the match, their national anthem gets played. And have Anthony Ogogo, I mean, I don't know. Now, look, that punch kind of looks cheesy, but I'm willing to look past it. But when Anthony Ogogo admits in interviews that he's like 75 to 80% blind in one eye, I mean, I'm not going to make that big of a deal about it because you've had people wrestle with eye patches before. Even if they weren't blinded, you put an eye patch on, it simulates that you're blinded in one eye. But Anthony Ogogo is still very, very new to wrestling. And he's pretty much, and look, I'm not trying to disrespect the guy right now, but he's a one-trick pony. All it is the punch. So either this is going to be an absolute gaga farce, or they see something in this guy that they think is going to work and work beautifully at Double or Nothing. Because Cody versus Anthony Ogogo almost feels like an AEW elevation match than anything else. And having Cody cut this passionate promo today, talking about history and the American dream and talking about black and white and bringing up his wife, and they're going to have this beautiful black, white, child. I mean, 2021, I mean, that shouldn't even be talked about. It's terrible that in 2021, people have to still point that out. I mean, you see it in commercials more than anything else. I'm not trying to cause controversy, but you take note of commercials. You would think that 90% of the people out there are all in mixed marriages or mixed relationships. Some commercials, all you see is a mixed marriage on TV. I don't have any problem with it, but it's an advertising ploy. I mean, we've talked about that before. I was going to launch a website like 10 years ago called, I think, blackwhiteasian.com or something, and point out the like pushing of that. Just two people love each other. Two people love each other. Black, white, gay, straight, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And in 2021, you would think that shouldn't even be brought up. I mean, it's easy for me to say, not being a black person or minority or gay or anything else. I mean, I've had people treat me, and act racist, but for me, it's just walk in the park. For others, I mean, it's traumatizing for their life. So Cody, his point tonight was to bring up how great this country is and the American dream and how wonderful America is. And Anthony Ogogo is here and taking American money. And this is all designed to try to put Anthony Ogogo even further as a heel. That's all it is. That's all it. Cody could end up winning this match. I don't know. But to me, this is strictly designed that the more Cody is the American dream, the more it's to enhance that Anthony Ogogo's from England. Who the fuck cares that Anthony Ogogo's from England? How many other heels on that roster that are from different countries? How come they're not cutting promos on those heels? You're here. You're not living the Japanese dream. You're living the American dream. You're not living the English dream. You're living the American. I mean, why is Anthony Ogogo any different? So that's why this is designed strictly to build him up more as a heel. So... Corey, I'm a Mets fan at heart. I was a Yankee fan as a kid. I'm revealing my age, but once they did not re-sign Reggie Jackson in 1982, I became a Met fan. I've been a Met fan ever since. But if the Mets are not in the playoffs and the Yankees are, I will root for New York. I am a New Yorker through and through, but that is the truth. For basketball, New York Knicks, go New York, go New York, go. Hockey, it's the Rangers, and football, it's the Giants. The difference with those is that if the Rangers are not in the playoffs, I do not root for the Islanders. If the Knicks are not in the playoffs, I do not root for the Nets. And I certainly do not root for the Jets. Jets? Hell no. So, let's talk a little bit about Dynamite. Fill in the blanks from tonight. Jon Moxley opens the show, takes on Yuji Nagata for the IWGP United States Championship. I enjoyed the match tremendously. But I hated that they did not go with the most obvious common sense opening. The Pinnacle should have opened that show. That match last week, say what you want about the ending and everything else, but that match last week was their biggest storyline right now, by far. Pinnacle, now I understand why they didn't do it, because they didn't want the ring to be all wet, from the bubbly truck. But they did have matches afterwards, so it's not like they couldn't have taken care of it. But that should have opened up more than anything else. You carry over from last week. It was nice to see Yuji Nagata. I mean, again, the AEW whack jobs out there. Oh my God, Yuji Nagata back on TNT in an AEW ring. This is epic. This is amazing. Capital letters. If there was a way to darken lettering on Twitter, everything would have been in giant black capital letters. Thank God there's no darken feature. I know there's a way of doing it, but oh my God. Shut up. Yuji Nagata is a legend. Nobody was tweeting Eugene Nagata when he was having matches. He's been having killer matches in the last 2 years. I didn't see anybody mention any shit about Eugene Nagata. But no, because it's an AEW ring. Using words like amazing, unbelievable, epic. Oh, and cute. Cute. That's why I started tweeting again, everyone. Started getting a little sick and tired of doing the shows here Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and bringing up specific things that people absolutely love ideas, or we have some great discussions, and then people will check out the shows, podcasters especially, and then the next day, not when the moment first happens or right after the event happens, the next day after they take in the show, their tweets are almost word for word the shit that we talk about. Wow, what a great idea. Wow, I didn't even think of that. And it's hilarious when people tweet one side of it and then go completely, the Eva Marie stuff was priceless. So I started tweeting stuff again. And I said earlier today, Jon Moxley came out to Wild Thing. Jon Moxley is huge into, hardcore Japanese deathmatch wrestling. And Onita, I think he announced that he's going to launch a promotion, FMWA or something like FMWE, something like that. I didn't read all the details yet. I'm not going to lie. But Moxley absolutely loves Onita and loves Japanese deathmatch wrestling. So me, since I used to love watching FMW and I fantasized when I thought ECW was going to have this epic feud with FMW that really didn't go anywhere near what it should have been. And we fantasized about FMW and Onita having that one death match in the WWF, which never was developed, even though it was considered in 1997. But Onita used to come out to Wild Thing. And Onita, I even think, used to come out to the Major Leagues version of Wild Thing. Oh, I don't have him on the wall anymore. I replaced him with Taz. That's Taz up there. But I had, I had number 99 on the wall forever. FMWE, thank you, FMW Explosion. So the minute I heard Moxley come out to the 60s song Wild Thing today, my immediate reaction was, that feels like it's a little tribute to Onita. So because I don't tweet about Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan or whoever the flavor of the month is on WWE television right now, I dare tweet about Japanese wrestling. I asked a question out there. You think Moxley came out in tribute to Onita? And, a few people were like, I think so. It seems like it is, this and that. And I purposely watched a few people who were talking about Dynamite and didn't say nothing about the Onita Moxley thing. Soon as somebody wrote back and said, yes, it was a tribute to Onita, here comes the podcasting goofs. Oh, Moxley came out, paid tribute to Onita today. I should have wrote that he paid tribute to Doink the Clown. So I find that cute when people do that stuff. But he came out to pay tribute to Onita. That's why he did the Wild Thing theme today. Say that fast 10 times. That's why, Benjamin, I feel bad, but I did it about 6 weeks ago. And I did the quarter-hour ratings for, I think it was NXT. I purposely took 3 or 4 quarters, and I flip-flopped the numbers just to see how many people were reporting on their own websites and the podcast, the numbers. And sure enough, hook, line, and sinker, I saw, I think, 11 people, and some of them just absolutely hate my guts. And they're reporting, here's the quarter-hour ratings. And they posted my numbers. 3 of the 8 quarters were wrong, intentionally. I mean, I fixed it the following week, but I purposely gave wrong quarters to see how many people were going to go and report that. And sure enough, they did. I didn't use the headphones tonight because I programmed everything early and I did some sound checks, and, my ears were kind of hurting the last show. I didn't know how long we were going today, so no headphones. They're right here, though, but I want to thank Chris again. I don't know where the box is, but he hooked me up with some Audio Technica headphones. That's why the audio might actually sound a little different, because I was messing around with settings the last week. So, franchises ask me, why am I looking at the podcasting goofs online? Because I find it hilarious that we come up with some awesome discussions and ideas here that no one else comes up with. And then, they basically can't stand my guts and then basically tweet or write the shit as their own. So just to stick it to them, now I'm going to start making clips. Now I'm going to start tweeting more. I'm going to start throwing my shit out. That's why I threw out the Velveteen Dream Eva Marie idea. Now nobody could write that idea because fuck, he wrote it. So anyway, I'm going to throw one out there right now for all of you out there. And yes, there will be timestamps tonight. Some people complained that Monday had no timestamps. Monday was just a Raw recap. If you didn't want to hear a Raw recap, you don't tune in Monday. That's all it was. I didn't want to timestamp Raw recap. We jump back and forth in topics. Tonight's different because we got a bunch of different things to talk about. By the way, shout out to Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa, I might as well throw this out there. They're doing a little interesting storyline with her and Kamille in NWA. I don't know if you heard about this. She's going to have a match. They haven't announced the date yet, but Kamille is going to take on Thunder Rosa in a match. And Kamille cut a promo talking about how Thunder Rosa is wrestling for other promotions. I don't recall if she name-dropped AEW by name, but she's talking about Thunder Rosa being on a whole bunch of other promotions and using NWA, as like a springboard. And Kamille put up her number one contendership to Thunder Rosa. But if Thunder Rosa loses the match, she can never wrestle for other promotions again. So I don't particularly like stipulations like that because unless NWA locked up Thunder Rosa to some crazy exclusive deal right now, which I don't believe is going to be the case, especially since Thunder Rosa has her own promotion, and they're not going to get technical with the storyline and be like, well, can I work for my promotion? It's if you lose, you can't work anywhere else. That almost feels like, okay, there's no way Thunder Rosa's losing that match. But that's the stipulation they're going with. Here's my idea. Especially in the United States, the biggest problem with vaccines right now is convincing young people to get the vaccine. Here in New York, a lot of people don't know this, but here in New York, 60% of New Yorkers 18 years or older have been vaccinated. 60%. So they are having a difficult time getting young people to be vaccinated. If you see that 60% number going down, that's a good thing. Because the more younger people under the age of 18 that get vaccinated, the less of a majority percentage 18 and over have. So you actually want that number to go down a little bit. So here's my idea. You want to get young fans to be vaccinated? I think WWE and AEW should take a page from Major League Baseball. What they are doing at some ballparks, Yankees and Mets, for example, that you go to the baseball game, they have a vaccination hub right in the stadium. If you get vaccinated, you get a free ticket for a future game. AEW and WWE should set up or get a vaccine. Obviously, they would not be doing the injections, but doctors, physicians would do it. They should set up vaccination hubs at Daly's Place, at Capital Wrestling Center, wherever they're doing, whatever they want, and advertise, announce that any fans that show up and get vaccinated, they will get a free ticket for a future event. If you don't know if you're going to have that many future events locally, do a virtual meet and greet. Have a celebrity, have a wrestler or two show up there. You could have, you don't announce who's going to be there in advance unless it's a huge name, but you announce that, every 2 hours, a WWE superstar will stop by, hang out, You could do an autograph signing, but not virtually, but social distance. Do something to get young fans to show up at WWE and AEW event. Could you imagine the press they would get off of that by announcing that any fans that show up, even for Daly's place, show up, get vaccinated, see the show for free? I think it's a phenomenal idea. I mean, I was joking with Mish earlier today that, if I'm already vaccinated and I want a free ticket, or if I get a free autograph or a hand job, I might turn around and get the vaccine shot for the third time. Hey, I'll just keep going to wrestling events. I have so many antibodies that they'll be coming out of my ears. Q-tip is antibodies present in my Q-tips. And trust me, it would not surprise me if some morons out there, if they're offered something for free, it's only a matter of time. I will guarantee you it's only a matter of time. You're going to hear in some state, especially with the baseball games, that somebody got vaccinated multiple times to keep getting free tickets for games. You're going to have some dope that's going to get rushed to the hospital because he's been vaccinated 5 times. I'm telling you it's going to happen. But come on, tell me that's not a bad idea. AEW and WWE should jump on that idea. Make the campaign, announce on a Saturday, during the day, outside, big vaccination, show up, get a free ticket to the... And what if the fan doesn't show up for the event? They throw it in the garbage. But you got people vaccinated. Just an idea. Garth, I'm not saying that everybody should be vaccinated. I respect anybody that does not believe in vaccines. But obviously, the more people are vaccinated, the less the infection rate is. And you want to get the infection rate low enough that once the pandemic is over, obviously those who are not vaccinated will be rolling the dice every time they're out in public without a mask because this virus will be hanging around for a couple of years. Even if the infection rate goes almost to zero in some states, all you need is a couple of foreigners to come in from a different country with a variant or something like that. One spreads it to this one and spreads it to this one, spreads it. That's how it starts. So anybody who's not vaccinated will be taking a risk. But that's what life is about, risk. Right? I don't like driving late at night anymore. I get very nervous because of all the crazy-ass people on the road. But I take that risk. Everything is about risk. So, anyway, in the comments section later today, after the show's over, tell me what you think about that idea if you like it. And spread the idea, So, anyway, Jon Moxley beats Yuji Nagata. Very physical match. Yuji Nagata, if you watched any of his matches the last couple of years, you knew exactly what you were getting today. Very, very physical. You see the level of respect Jon Moxley has towards not only Japanese wrestling and death matches, but those from abroad. Jon Moxley showed an extreme, sign of respect to Yuji Nagata after the match was over. And that's authentic. That's not for the cameras. That's not because it's the right thing to do. That's how Moxley truly feels. And, it was a fun match. I don't think there was any question as far as who was going to win it. I want to see a little more with Yuji Nagata. He's here for a little bit. Why not have Moxley and Nagata team up, for a match? Do it on Elevation. You could do it on the Fan Fest if he's going to be around for 2 weeks. I want to see a little more Yuji Nagata. And I would like to see possibly him and Moxley. I know Eddie Kingston is around Moxley as well, but I'd like to see a little bit more. So after the match was over, they bowed in the ring, sign of respect. And, I like that they played the Wild Thing theme. Say that fast 10 times. But if you think I'm making it up, man, go on social media and just type in quotes, Wild Thing, and then type the word Moxley and see what some of these whack jobs that I'm talking about. Thank you, Tony. Just awesome intro. I mean, come on, man. We have heard that song Wild Thing in supermarkets, doctors' offices, at sporting events. And I'm sorry, that song is from 50 years ago, and I've heard it 950 times in my lifetime. If it played in the doctor's office I went through today, it wouldn't even faze me. But because Moxley comes out with it, it's suddenly epic, unbelievable, amazing. I actually watched people write in capital letters today, amazing song, amazing theme. Yeah, Jamie, Kenta is back in Japan. That sucked. That sucked. I mean, what was that designed for? I mean, yeah, you're right, Benjamin. I probably have heard that song Wild Theme probably more than 950 times. So, Cody comes out, makes the announcement, him and Ogogo. Ortiz, Hager, and Guevara interviewed about blood and guts. They want revenge. They want a revenge match. Now, Jericho, they said, had the dislocated shoulder, arm. I'm assuming it's a worked injury. But, you and I talked about this last week. We did not want Chris Jericho to be on camera today. You take out on a stretcher. It felt like the Shaq thing. You come out on a stretcher, and in 6 or 7 days, he's perfectly fine. Oh, he's got a boo-boo wrapped around it. I personally, and again, this is the TNT problem, that everything needs to blow a load on TNT. Can't keep Jericho off TV for a week or two. How many places did you read in the last 7 days that Jericho was taken out the way he did and took the fall to write him off TV? How many people with the exclusives that Jericho did that spot to be written off TV? Did he get written off TV? No. He's wearing a brace. Now they're going to do Stadium Stampede 2. Now, I have to express my opinion on this. We all that are AEW fans absolutely loved Stadium Stampede. I mean, the stuff with the cart, with Guevara, the spot in the pool, even though some lightweights got triggered, Shed drowned and Matt Hardy is simulating drowning. To quote a famous movie, lighten up, Francis. I didn't think one thing about that. But that Stadium Stampede was fucking awesome. And what was the one thing that I talked about that I appreciated the most about that Stadium Stampede match? The fact that they did it all in one day. They recorded everything in one day. And they had very little notice to do this match. And they pulled it off. Now you have 2 weeks to get this together. And they probably already started filming things. Why is anybody out there saying, I don't know how I feel about Stadium Stampede 2? If you're an AEW fan and you love the first one, tell me why you would even think that, I don't know if I would like the second one. What the fuck does that mean? Tell me what. There's no members of the Inner Circle that disappointed. There was no members on the Pinnacle that disappointed. If anything, the Pinnacle might have done even more. Tell me what. I tell you what I didn't like about it today. The bubbly truck stuff I was fine with. It's Daly's place. It's not an arena with 15,000 people and the production value that you could bring an entire giant beer truck into the building or a milk truck. They had to improvise, and they improvised. Though they did a fine job. They're not supposed to replace the production value of WWE. Anybody using the Austin reference, if it gives you flashbacks to Austin, totally agree with you. If it gives you flashbacks to Angle, totally agree with you. In fact, I even think, didn't it happen on TNA once? Didn't they do something with a a shower. I don't remember. Could swear they did. Didn't they do one with Dixie Carter? Maybe I'm just fantasizing for real. But so anybody had a flashback is fine. But anybody comparing it, I think that's a little unfair. I think it's a little bit unfair. But what I did not like today was, again, remember AEW has a habit of taking something one step too far when it's not necessary. When they did Guevara versus Matt Hardy last year, they added that stipulation that if Matt Hardy loses, he can never wrestle for AEW again. Motherfucker just came into that company. Nobody thought that there was any chance whatsoever that Matt Hardy was going to suddenly not wrestle there anymore unless there was some career-threatening injury or something tremendously went wrong with his contract. So there was no need. There was no need to add that stipulation. They add these over-the-top stipulations that are very hard to buy into. And doing this stipulation that if the Inner Circle loses, that they have to split up. This reeks of the shit last year with the Inner Circle. Oh, we're a cohesive unit. 2 weeks later, we may split. A week later, we're back together. A week after, we got to get it out of our system. We don't need the over-the-top stipulation. Oh, my God, I got to watch this match because it might be the last of the Inner Circle. There was no need for that stipulation. Rematch, Stadium Stampede, end of story. That's how I feel about it. There was really no need to do that stipulation because nobody's going to buy into it. I remember back in the day, and I brought this up before, Jerry Lawler in Memphis used to do these stipulations that if he loses the match, he will give everybody in the building's money back. And how many people you really think, we might get our money back? First of all, I mean, how would you even be able to document, like, who paid for their ticket and who got comped, who got in there for free? Were they giving out receipts? No, they just tear your ticket in half, and that's it, if they even did that. But they would do that as like a, goofy storyline, like, I guarantee that I'm going to win. If not, I will do this. If I will, nobody buys into it. Thank you for the kind words, Sam. So I thought that was over the top. Young Bucks beating SCU. As we talked about earlier, Christopher Daniels getting busted open hard way. Head right next to the corner post. Super kicked. I am the post. Post one out. Christopher Daniels was gushing. And, they let him back in the match, which is a little surprising. Because, again, you can't go with the referee. Are you okay? Because when you get a concussion and you're knocked for a loop, instinct kicks in. And Matt Hardy thought he was okay. He didn't remember anything from the match after that. So, you get hit like that. I think, personally, the shot wasn't hard enough where he got a concussion or anything like that, but it did split his head open. He bled and gushed. And I think we all knew that there was no chance that SCU was winning those tag titles. At minimum, I thought, okay, maybe it ends in a DQ. Maybe the Good Brothers get involved. And as a result, they have a rematch on pay-per-view. Because you would think Christopher Daniels, since he does want to retire, that he and Frankie Kazarian could lose on a pay-per-view, have full capacity arena, thank them, clap, pay tribute, soak it in on pay-per-view, go out like that. No. You got to blow your load on TNT because AEW has to go to TNT, say, we're going to do this match that if these two lose, their career is over. That's why this shit happens on free TV. Remember when Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers teamed up against Moxley and the Young Bucks? In any other world, that's a pay-per-view main event match. No, we got to blow our load on TV. The only matches that I'm really fine with is Darby closing out so many Dynamites defending the TNT Championship because it is on TNT. So to have the TNT title close out a TNT aired show, fine with me. Sometimes I don't think Darby should close it out. In the case of the week before the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, Blood and Guts, that Dynamite should have gone off the air in absolute chaos. But they didn't do that, maybe because they thought Biden's speech that people were going to tune in. But, they did what they did. Big T, where do I get my art prints? Nuclear Heat Graphics. Shaheen does phenomenal artwork. AJ Moore, he is another awesome artist. And there's this another person, I think his name is Edwin. Somebody introduced me to his work about 2 weeks ago. And the only artwork I have of his is that Taz picture behind me, which it looks really, really cool up close because half of it is Taz and the other half is the Tasmaniac. From far away, it kind of looks like his whole face is face painted, but it's not. It's only half. But that's the artwork. I want to rotate them a little bit more, but, the problem is it's not easy to adhese them. And I don't want to start taking things apart because that's when disaster strikes. Thank God we haven't had, I think, more than once where shit starts falling down while we're in the middle of doing the show. So anyway, SCU loses today. Don Callis on commentary. It was funny when the Young Bucks were complaining that blood was getting on their $10,000 sneakers. Towards the end of the match, Chris Daniels got involved in the match again. I think some people were kind of questioning that. But he hit the Uranagi, attempted the BME, but, he stumbled. And if you remember some of the storyline in the past, Christopher Daniels is not the Christopher Daniels of old. And then what ends up happening is Young Bucks hit the BTE trigger. Kazarian tries to break up the pin unsuccessfully. SCU is done. As one of the Young Bucks said, SCU later. And I'm sorry for repeating myself, very disrespectful. Instead of leaving the cameras on them for 30 seconds or a minute, let the fans clap, let it be a little emotional, let them hug, let the moment sink in that they're done as a tag team. Literally 10 seconds later, we got to get a camera. We got to go to the back. Something is happening in the back. Interpretation, we don't give a fuck about SCU breaking up as a team. We just did that for TNT for the attention on the regular show, and we want to immediately divert attention to chaos in the back. You know how stupid that looked later on, that the Young Bucks are in that locker room with the Good Brothers, and there's like a little tiny pile of garbage, like perfectly swept in a nice little, round area. It looked like somebody's living room, like after maybe a little 7th birthday party for your nephew or something. There was a couple little pieces of garbage perfectly in the middle. It was awful. And that's what you broke away from, SCU splitting up as a team. And I don't give a shit if Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Santa Claus, Jesus Christ come down and say, no, this was our decision. No, it's not your fucking decision. They are important enough that the fans, would like to show a little thanks and appreciation. No, let's cut to the back and see Moxley and Eddie Kingston try to throw a piece of cardboard around. It's not the wrestlers. It's not Moxley or Kingston's fault. And again, it wasn't to divert attention that Daniels was bleeding, because somebody loved those segments of him gushing. They put the camera close up several times. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me, maybe not because he's retiring, but wouldn't surprise me if they manipulate the intro for Dynamite and a shot of Daniels covered in blood doesn't get added to it. Christian Cage interviewed by Dasha, and basically Christian saying, Taz used to be a monster. Now you're a monster in catering, blah, 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 blah. Christian says that he's got an open contract. He's going to show up on Dynamite next week. Taz, any one of you men, except for Ricky Starks, obviously. And Matt Sydal shows up. Oh, goody. Matt Sydal is talented. I like Matt Sydal. But Matt Sydal, if there was 10,000 people in the arena, it would have been an old Cedric Alexander moment. Matt Sydal would have walked into the picture, looked up like this, and there would have been no crowd reaction. Matt Sydal's like, I filled in the contract. So next week it's Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal. Oh, goody. Then at Double or Nothing, they're doing a casino battle royale. Whoever wins gets a future title shot. I'm hoping Lance Archer wins that. But Matt Sydal and Christian are in that match also on the pay-per-view. Okay, we'll see what happens. Anyway, before I go any further, Papo Jr., shout out my friend. I know you're around, but schedule, he's not able to tune in live as much as in the past. So thank you for the kind words as well. Trying to keep upbeat about everything. Tomorrow, I'll talk a little bit about what went down at the doctor's today. Very, very frustrated when I walked out of there. Very frustrated. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But I thank you. And the Q&A, members only. I was supposed to do it Sunday. I had a brain fart last week and forgot that Sunday was Mother's Day. I spent it with Mom. So I am going to do the Q&A for our great members Friday afternoon. So it will be on YouTube for all of you. Alexis, I'll talk about it tomorrow. But just to give you the short answer of it, my doctor is now referring me back to the original doctor that did my diverticulitis surgery. It seems like maybe something was not done properly. And the way this doctor came off to me, it was almost like, I ain't fucking around with your insides. So I'll explain tomorrow a little bit more. My urologist with the prostate cancer, that's Friday. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, they're going to have to do more tests to make it official. But again, nobody goes up 2 points on their PSA in 1 year and not be cancer. So I know it sounded weird the other day, but like I said, if it is, I'd rather it be. Because I do not want to go, put it this way, I don't want to go another year just wondering, am I going to get it next year? Am I going to get it the year after? If I'm going to get it because it runs in my family, let's just get it over with. Give me full blown now. Let me beat it. I don't have to fucking think about this anymore. So, Edwin G., I don't think that will be Moxley's song going forward. I immediately thought of Onita. And especially with Onita's announcement last week, it felt like some respect for Onita because he used to come out to Wild Thing. Very, very reminiscent to Onita. That's what it felt like. I could be way off on this one, but to me, I thought it was a tribute to Onita. I don't think it's anything else than that. Who knows? Maybe he does continue coming out to that. Look, you want to pay tribute to Onita. There's no reason why you can't do it for the foreseeable future. I don't know. If you really think about it, I mean, it's reminiscent to Onita from yesteryear. But that's not necessarily a theme that everybody would clamor. Like if I said to you, give me 50 songs from yesteryear that you would love to see people with an entrance theme, that song would not be on the list. If you want to, do something with like Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne or AC/DC or, whoever, Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, you're going to come up with stuff like that. Okay, I'm listening. But something like a song like that, I don't think that would be on anybody's list, seriously. AS7607, very, very cool. She was tuning in on Monday. I'm sorry, that what you went through, but she was tuning into our show Monday from a hospital. Her grandma was in a hospital, heart, concerns, and she is home. And trust me, everyone, I know we talk about wrestling on Wednesdays. I try to sneak in or, mention a couple of real life things in the process. And believe me when I tell you, if you know anyone or you yourself ever have any things, especially about your chest, that does not seem right, don't wish it away or don't ignore it, because it can end up being something really serious. Look what happened to my dad a couple of months ago. And anybody that's ever seen me post pictures of my dad, whether it's 30 years ago or 30 weeks ago, he is the definition of in fit, health, no smoking ever, very, very little drinking other than some wine. And look what happened to him. And that was not expected. So I'm glad she's home. I'm glad she's doing better. And relax a little bit. Relax a little bit. Much love. Much love. Orange Cassidy versus Pac, as we talked about earlier, went to a double countout. Halfway through the match, they improvised, brought Don Callis out there, Kenny Omega. Something was wrong with Orange Cassidy, obviously. Orange Cassidy got knocked for a loop, got kicked. Then I think it was the powerbomb. They went to a commercial. Orange Cassidy was in the corner. And as you watched the commercial break, you knew something was wrong because he ain't going out of that corner. So they improvised. And they had Kenny Omega come out. Aubrey Edwards was distracted. Kenny Omega knocked out Pac. Now, if you think about even last week, the storyline was obvious. Kenny Omega wanted to wrestle Pac. He thought Orange Cassidy was a joke. That's why Orange Cassidy came out last week and not Pac. So the idea is that Orange Cassidy wanted to take on Pac, but he didn't want to take on Orange Cassidy because Orange Cassidy is a joke. Come see me in 10 years after you grow up. So there'd be absolutely no logical reason why Pac would knock out Kenny Omega. Why Kenny Omega would knock out Pac with the belt. If you could look at it, it's stupid. One thing that AEW seems to have a problem with is improvising, spur of the moment. They do discuss in advance, what if something goes wrong in the match? But they really don't do a great job of improvising, it seems. And they had Kenny Omega knock out Pac with the belt, and they get counted out. They both get awarded a title shot by getting counted out. I don't recall Kenny Omega doing anything to Orange Cassidy today. Why would Orange Cassidy be awarded a title shot at Double or Nothing when it was Pac that made him incoherent? If you want to use that logic that, Humberto Carrillo, which thank God it seems that he's okay, he gets injured, quote unquote, on camera, and he loses because he can't continue and gets a title shot from that, you should never be rewarded for futility. And Orange Cassidy, unfortunately, turned into Orange Crush. He turned into Orange Mush. He turned into Orange Goop. He laid out in the corner and did nothing. Rolling into the corner one too many times. And unfortunately, this was beyond his control. He was legitimately knocked for a loop. And please, dear God, don't tell me tomorrow that, oh no, Orange Cassidy was fine. This was the plan all along. Whoever's plan that was should get their head examined. So now we got Orange Cassidy versus Pac versus Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. And I don't know, it just does not feel extremely important. It doesn't feel important, but I guess the big question is, what happens with Orange Cassidy? Let's hope he's okay. Let's hope he could do the match. Obviously, if it ends up he's okay, something could happen next week. And if they do something stupid where Pac challenges Orange Cassidy, I want Kenny Omega one-on-one, face me tonight, and they redo the match, would not be surprised if they did something like that. So, Young Bucks, pissed off about what happened in the back, challenges Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston for a match at Double or Nothing. I'm assuming it's for the tag titles. And I thought they were going to do a swerve. When the Young Bucks were pissed off in the back and they were hanging out with the Good Brothers and they issued the challenge to Moxley and Kingston, I thought the Young Bucks were going to say, you two guys versus the Good Brothers. And then have the Good Brothers look like, huh? That's what I thought they were going to do. But they didn't do that. They were triggered. Yeah, they were BTE triggered because of Moxley and Kingston throwing around nothing in the locker room. They were avoiding that soda machine. They didn't want to screw up the soda machine. The Pinnacle in the ring celebrating. They got 5 beautiful women with them. It was kind of funny. Not intentional, but Tully Blanchard, he got the women for them, got them watches. But it was funny when he said it. He said the women and the watches back to back. So he talked about the women, and he said that he spent thousands of dollars. But it was so close together, it almost sounded like he spent thousands of dollars for the women. So the Pinnacle, obviously MJF is doing most of the talking, that how they defeated the Inner Circle. Inner Circle is pretty much done. And while they're celebrating and Tully Blanchard presenting them women and watches, we hear a horn beep over and over and over again. Got a little annoying. And the next thing you know, it was like this little tiny, truck. You could see it a little bit. That's a nice little long distance shot. And it was hooked up to a water tank and a hose with obviously the CO2 and the pressure. And the Inner Circle are on there, and they want a rematch. Earlier in the night, Santana, I think it was Hager, Ortiz, and Guevara challenging the Inner Circle, challenging the Pinnacle to a rematch, and the Pinnacle said absolutely not. So they're on the vehicle, and we hear Jericho's voice, but we don't see him. And I thought we were going to see him on the Titantron, but Jericho was on the truck. And as you could see in this picture I showed you earlier, they're selling that he has the injury. I don't know if it's legit or not. And yes, Jake Hager smokes, in case you didn't know about that already. But they want a rematch against the Pinnacle. MJF says no, so they got squirted with water. And again, you got to go along with it. But if you really wanted to be dry, all you had to do is go to the left side of the ring. Because that left side of the ring was pretty dry because the water pressure really could not make the water go that far. And but it was a fun segment. Again, this is, Indy standards. If I saw that in one of my local promotions or old school ECW, I have no issue with it whatsoever. I think some people, try to compare like WWF during the Attitude Era in its prime and try to compare it with AEW of today. It's totally unfair to do that. But because they get splashed with water, we're supposed to think it's champagne. MJF agrees to the rematch. It's going to happen at Double or Nothing in 2 weeks. Stadium Stampede. And the stipulation is that if the Inner Circle lose, they must break up, disband. We'll see what happens. But again, I don't know why anybody out there is complaining about this. The first Stadium Stampede was excellent. So why would you think that this is not? I mean, if anything, I'm not going to say that Stadium Stampede 2 is going to be better than 1. They got more time to prepare. They've gone through a year of COVID, so this is a little bit more comfortable. If anything, the only reason why I might anticipate Stadium Stampede 2 over 1 is because there's different people involved with this one. Yes, I know the Inner Circle is pretty much the same, but now you got MJF. Lord knows what comedy they do with him. Tully Blanchard could obviously get involved with some pre-recorded little spots. So there's going to be some really fun, creative things that you would not have seen on the first one. So Benjamin, why did they not use real bubbly and use water instead? Number one, I don't know if you've ever been showered with champagne, but it burns, first of all. It's sticky. It smells. The ring, the apron, the area, you could cause a hazard. Somebody could slip, get really injured from it. It's not easy to clean. There's a lot of reasons why you would not use champagne for something like that. It's all about the visual. So you could fantasize that it was champagne, it was bubbly, but it was water. No issue with that. That's actually, you want to know something? And I'm serious. If I would have found out they really use champagne, I would have said that's stupid. Water, just overall, is a lot safer, especially that you still had some matches to take place. By the way, as I showed you, shout out to our elite channel members here on YouTube. They are worth a second shout out. You know what? And while I'm shouting them out, a shout out to our YouTube channel subscribers. So much love to you as well. Yeah, we could have two tributes at the same time. Why not? Britt Baker sitting down with Jim Ross, hyping up the match with Hikaru Shida. You could see, even in the promo department, how substantially better Britt Baker has become. Confidence does that. Confidence will help you improve. You have no idea how much confidence could really up your game. She's got an awesome coach in Adam Cole helping her too. And I don't know how I feel about her using the curb stomp, though, because that is something that we have seen in wrestling in the past where, you know, if you have a predominant wrestler having a finisher, you know, and that person is still using that finish, you usually don't do it also. I think the one that I remember more than anything was Kurt Angle. You know, Kurt Angle was still using the ankle lock, and I think he might have stopped wrestling for a little while. And I don't know if Swagger started using it, but I remember a little controversy. Charlie Conway, I don't know if you are a channel subscriber. If you are, I'll add you to it, but you might be on there already. I'm pretty sure you were on there. I'll check. But Britt Baker, confident that she's going to beat Shida at Double or Nothing, and I kind of agree. Shida's reign has not been very good. I don't know who to blame on that. Shida's done as good as she could, but I think it's time for a change. I think it's time. Britt Baker has done a great job. You know, she still has a lot more improvement to go. So in the last year, Britt Baker has taken chicken shit, turned it into chicken salad. So good for her. Oh, so Charlie, yeah, you're on. I usually check it twice before I do the show. So Thunder Rosa beating Jasmine Allure. Jasmine Allure still, you know, very, very young in her career. This was pretty much a squash match just to honestly put a win under Thunder Rosa's belt. You know, more filler than anything else. I mean, obviously they wanted to advertise Thunder Rosa being on the show today, but you go back and you look at some of the things that they could have handled differently. It's like, for example, SCU at the, you know, if the match was over, maybe you could have bypassed Thunder Rosa tonight. But, you know, I'm not complaining. Obviously, I'm a Thunder Rosa fan. I think, you know, I was not given this shirt. So, Jade Cargill, interviewed by Tony Schiavone. They're still continuing with she's like the hottest free agent. She's that bitch. And, you know, she's going to take her time as far as who's going to sign her. All right. You know, it's better than nothing, I guess. So next week, and honestly, this seems very bland for next week. You got Serena Deeb versus Red Velvet for the NWA Women's Championship. You have Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal. You have the Young Bucks versus the Varsity Blondes. They actually said the Varsity Blondes are the number one contenders. I have nothing against the Varsity Blondes, and I love the Brian Pillman Dark Side of the Ring, even though 99% of it we already knew. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the Varsity Blondes are number one contenders. I'm just saying. And Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn. if you would have advertised those 4 matches on on AEW Dark or Elevation, I'd say, okay, all right. But I'm sorry, Ogogo versus Gunn does not do it for me. Red Velvet versus Deeb, I think, will be better than what we think. Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal, kind of feels like a Sunday Night Heat match or a main event match. And I don't mean main event as in closing out a show. And Young Bucks versus Varsity Blondes, what's going to happen? What? Moxley and Kingston are going to interfere? I'm not feeling that, to be honest with you. So right now, for Double or Nothing, we have Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Again, no FTW title on the line. Anthony Ogogo versus the American Dream, Cody Rhodes. Hikaru Shida versus Dr. Britt Baker. Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy versus Pac. And Stadium Stampede 2. I don't know why, but the overall card does not feel all that impressive or exciting. I don't know why. I guess once they make, and maybe they did already, the Young Bucks versus Moxley and Kingston. Yeah, all right, I think that kind of shapes it up a little bit. By the way, what happened to Matt Hardy and Private Party and Butcher and Blade and all their obsession trying to destroy Darby Allin and, the Dark Order? What happened to that? Seriously, I know there's some injuries, but you pull everybody from TV? Main event. We opened up the show talking about it. We might as well wrap up the AEW discussion with this. Miro beats Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. As I've talked about for quite some time now, AEW has developed a horrible reputation handling the bigger size talent there. I still remember that promo that Cody cut in the parking lot, that they're a light heavyweight promotion. And you saw how a lot of the big men were being used. And trust me, Miro winning the TNT title does not resolve that big problem. But, Miro, after beating up Kip Sabian and putting all the champions on notice. We had that discussion 2 weeks ago. And we were all pondering, who does he go for? And the only one that we all came up with was Darby Allin. And if you go back to last week's show, we were all pretty much in agreement that Miro had to win this. And hopefully they didn't do the cheap cop-out where Kip Sabian gets involved and distracts Miro and some bullshit finish. They needed Miro to win this one, because if he would have done the same yap that they did with Lance Archer, Lance Archer was calling out everybody, putting people in garbage cans, shoving them through roofs and everything like that, and it led to nothing. Powerhouse Hobbs is still new, but they did nothing with him. Brian Cage, they have done next to nothing with. And you could go on and on and on. So Miro, who I always felt 2020 was a year off for him to basically recharge, not only physically, but mentally. I always felt, and I've said it for over a year, I always felt that 2020 was a year for Miro to take it easy. I didn't think in any way possible that his AEW career in 2021 would mirror what he did in 2020. And he won. And it kind of reminded me when Brody Lee beat Cody. It wasn't as one-sided, but still, it was an unexpected win. And when Brody won that time, it felt like, all right, okay, I could get into this. So I'm feeling it. I'm glad that Miro won. And, Darby Allin now could feud. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to do Darby and Sting versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky? I don't know how I feel about that. But we'll see what happens. I thought Darby Allin's promo he cut tonight in the car, setting up the match with Miro, was great. Darby Allin they have definitely tweaked his character, not just on TV, but outside, hobbies. They have tweaked it quite a bit. And good. It was the right thing to do. They have something going really, really well in Darby Allin, and he doesn't always have to have a championship to back that up. So, no, I do not think Lana will be joining Miro. They're having fun in their respective promotions. I don't think they should team up or join up. So, Rep says he can't wait. He heard that AEW is going to have a new show on Fridays. Yeah, there's some rumblings about that. We'll see. We'll see until it's official. Right now it's just rumblings and rumors. I think 4 shows is a little bit overkill. But, if they tweak Dark a little bit and tweak Elevation, we'll see what happens. But there is no wrestling boom going on. It seems like a lot of smaller promotions all fighting for scraps. Trust me, if the Impact Wrestling buy rate was as good as people are trying to paint it out to be, they would just issue a press release and just say so. They would reveal the number. And as far as I know, they never revealed that number. It's none of your business. That's what I was told in the past with some other numbers. It's none of your business. Well, if it's that such a good fucking thing, why wouldn't you promote it? Plug it. Show everybody. Specifics. They choose not to do that. So, anyway, let's talk a little bit more about NXT yesterday. Look, if NXT starts banging out episodes like they did yesterday and start putting the bigger names on TV on a more frequent basis, I will seriously look into doing a live Tuesday recap of NXT, or maybe even do one on a Wednesday afternoon and then follow up with a Wednesday evening AEW Dynamite recap. I know a lot of you out there say, no, right now, this is fine. But keep in mind, understand everyone, that NXT aired 24 hours ago. Everybody and their mother already did recaps. So I'm not going to do 90 minutes of NXT, especially the first 3 weeks. And, I understand what Mish said, that it's right after WrestleMania. It's right after TakeOver. They just wanted to recharge their batteries. I just think you move to Tuesday night, you have all the AEW viewers doing nothing on Tuesday, and you want to get their attention. Like Eva Marie, do I have your attention now? And for the first 3 weeks, I thought NXT did a terrible job trying to really show everyone, reintroduce everyone, like they did with the Lucha House Party on Monday. Cutting a promo as if we haven't seen him for the last 3 years. Reintroduce everyone. This is NXT. That first night on Tuesday should have been pay-per-view quality. And they gave us all the people that were giving us shit ratings. And the curiosity factor was there. But when you're doing in the mid to upper 8s, now you're doing in the mid to upper 6s, unopposed, just think about that. There's 1 million fans, or let's be about 700,000 fans that are saying, not going to watch NXT tonight. Turned out to be a very good show. And I still feel that Kushida is the most over guy in NXT right now. I think Kushida is more over than Finn Balor, believe it or not. But NXT yesterday was fun. But it also left me, asking a lot of questions. As I said in the beginning of the show, Karrion Kross versus Austin Theory. Now, Karrion Kross, remember last week? Pointed the mic to the fans, chanting his name, yet WWE piped in a whole shitload of boos on the soundboard. This week, they didn't do that. They didn't pipe in the soundboard. Now, you all know Karrion Kross is a friend of the family. I seriously doubt me saying on this show last week, they're confusing the fans, piping in booze, and he's acknowledging the fans. I don't think somebody heard the show and said, so they tweaked it. Fine. He choked out Austin Theory. Johnny Gargano's all concerned and everything. And then Finn Balor's behind Karrion Kross. So they're going to have the rematch. But, again, Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, they don't come out this week. What was the point of the week before? What was the point? Karrion Kross, I know you avoided me. Prove me wrong, mate. Prove me wrong, mate. As soon as Finn Balor says, I want my rematch, I want it more than you do. Soon as they tease there's going to be a one-on-one, Kyle O'Reilly should have came right back out there. Pete Dunne should have came right back out. And guess what? Guess what? Pete Dunne could have laid out Kyle O'Reilly, and they could have had a big pull apart, and then they could have built the feud, Kyle O'Reilly versus Pete Dunne, and that explains why they're not going after Karrion Kross. That's easy as that. Same people come out again, but as soon as Kyle O'Reilly tries to show his face, Pete Dunne knocks his ass out. Brawl, pull apart, quick Acme Insta feud, that lets Balor take on Kross one-on-one. But they didn't do that. Everything last week led to nothing. This Cameron Grimes stuff, and they did it again for a second week in a row. You would have thought that there was 50,000 people in the Capitol Wrestling Center, that over-the-top soundboard pop for Ted DiBiase. I mean, now it's just funny, stupid funny. But they're doing an auction thing. They're auctioning off a house, and Cameron Grimes is trying to bid on the house, and the $1 Million Man bids $20 million. I mean, it's just awful. Cameron Grimes, man, he's trying, but I've brought it up before. Those quarter-hour ratings that Cameron Grimes gets consistently is not very good. In fact, if you notice, and this is not me manipulating numbers, if you notice, every Cameron Grimes segment of him doing this millionaire gimmick so far, from the basketballs to the jewelry store, every single time he's come out there, the rating has gone down. I don't know what's going to show Friday when I do the quarter-hour breakdown. But Cameron Grimes, it's funny, but it's funny. It was funny after the basketball stuff. And, okay, you want to have Ted DiBiase involved? They should have done that much sooner. Should have done it much sooner. They did all of these spots. Now Ted DiBiase shows up, and now what Ted DiBiase should do is take all of Cameron Grimes' money. Tell him to invest in something that doesn't exist. $1 Million Man takes all his money, Cameron Grimes turns poor. And I'm sorry for doing this tonight, everyone. The truth is, I didn't take my allergy medicine today, so I'm feeling it, and that's why I want to start wrapping this up very, very soon, because it's not very fun. It's not very fun. MSK retaining the tag titles over Breezango. It was a fun match, but Breezango, even when they had the tag titles, there was no momentum. The minute they won those belts, you were more thinking about, okay, are they going to lose it this week? Are they going to lose it next week? It just did not feel like WWE's ever put the sales behind Breezango. And, again, take note of the fans in attendance and how they react towards MSK. It's going to be interesting to see how the fans react when MSK takes on Legado del Fantasma again in a rematch. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Leon Ruff wants a match with Scott or somebody, and William Regal says no because of the beatdown last week, and Ruff starts tossing things off of Regal's desk, pissed off. He wants a match against someone. What, was Regal taking a shit yesterday? Because Pete Dunne hits the ring and gets attacked by Leon Ruff. He went against William Regal's orders. Why didn't William Regal suspend Leon Ruff? Why wasn't he on the screen? I told you, Sunshine, you're not competing tonight. No, we get a full-blown match. An official comes out there And Pete Dunne beats Leon Ruff by referee stoppage. Getting a lot of referee stoppages lately. Is this the MMA type effect? The WWE wants this sense that it's almost like MMA type stuff where a ref is forced to stop the match. They did that kind of with Humberto Carrillo playing injury, but they've done that with Kross. They've done that with a few people. I think they've done that with Thatcher, if I'm correct. But where was Regal when Leon Ruff came out and started brawling with Pete Dunne? Seriously, why didn't he show up on the screen? Nothing. See, little things like that I think about, but I don't know. It just feels lazy. Feels very lazy. Raquel Gonzalez versus Mercedes Martinez. It was a good match, a very good match. Mercedes Martinez, if you don't know much about her history, I've brought it up before. I've had the luxury, I've been spoiled being able to see Mercedes Martinez wrestle for almost 20 years. I've seen her wrestle up close and personal. In fact, somebody reminded me to actually work the show that she was on. She worked the show that I was on, or vice, however you want to look at it. She's phenomenal. I don't know where you go from here with Mercedes Martinez. Raquel Gonzalez won yesterday. There was no question on that. And Mish and I were having a discussion earlier because he's a big fan of Mercedes Martinez as well. Do you push her now as a babyface? Do you push her as a heel? I mean, obviously you're pushing her more as a loner, but I don't know where she's better suited on NXT, as a babyface or as a heel. And I don't know, like, who they going to have a feud with next. I just don't want to feel that Mercedes Martinez's match yesterday against Raquel Gonzalez is the high point of an NXT career. Because right now it certainly feels like that could end up happening. So this is starting to get flat. So we're going to have to break this one open. This is lime. Serve is here. Benjamin, Rep, Mr. Mike, Big T, Near, Charlie, Stormforce, Crazy still here, Harris, Phil's here. Shout out to all of you. Much love. By the way, I know I ask periodically, if you're enjoying the show, I would appreciate it if you smash that like button. As everybody and their mother says on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. Definitely hit that reminder thing so whenever I do shows, I'll post clips. By the way, I didn't show this to you earlier. This is the aftermath of last week's show with Sammy. Yeah, legit banged up, bruised. That's not makeup, everyone. Shit was, he suffered pretty bad injury last week. So I don't know what you do with Mercedes Martinez going forward. Now, next week, they're hyping up Zoe Stark versus Tony Storm. I pointed this out earlier today. I muted it because I didn't want anybody's headphones or to pop from a can of soda opening. Do you know what Tony Storm's record is? I'm curious if anybody knows this right now. What do you think Tony Storm's record has been since she has been on the NXT roster? Since she made her debut and appeared, she's had 7 matches. What do you think? Okay, some people already know. You probably heard earlier when we were talking about it. Tony Storm is 0-7. She's got to get a win. My opinion, it almost feels not necessarily as important as Miro's, but you know, when you talk about specific someone, you're like, they need a win now. Tony Storm needs a win and needs a win fast. May I understand, there's a lot of people that are into Tony Storm for superficial reasons. They're infatuated with certain parts of her body. But I think some people don't pay attention to the in-ring work. Now, Tony Storm is very talented, and she still has to develop more as a wrestler in the ring. But I still have a hard time getting past the finish of her match against Zeta Ramir. If you didn't see that finish and her, the way she positions herself, that's amateurish. I mean, even when I play the indie wrestle crap stuff that I did on the indies, when I play it on Thursdays, I don't even think those matches come anywhere close to what we saw with her. That was not even a rookie mistake. That was just sloppy. I don't know if she's paying any price for that. If we notice that, they notice that. But it feels like she's got to get a win against Zoe Stark. But I'm kind of happy how they're using Zoe Stark. I'm actually a little surprised they're using her the way they are. I thought by now, it should have been an afterthought. We were joking because in 2 weeks, Frankie Monet makes her debut in NXT, and we were wondering who her first victim will be. We were kind of having fun earlier who her first match will be against. I think it's going to be Casey Catanzaro, and I think that she will pretty much squash her. We got to see if she brings the dog around ringside, but she's going to debut in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, it's interesting. Even though NXT is unopposed on Tuesdays, it's kind of interesting that they're building 2 weeks from now as the more important NXT episode on USA. Other than some takeovers or some special themed episodes of NXT on USA, they would have some dates. Remember when I used to say, mark it on your calendar, this is the next one. They go head to head and really throw some good shit out there. 2 weeks from now is the next one where NXT is up in the ante a little bit on their regular TV show. Now, thinking about it, AEW that week doesn't air until Friday night. And because obviously the preemption, that's going to be the weekend of Double or Nothing. So NXT might be trying to strategically do this, knowing that AEW is not having a show the following day on a Wednesday. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Tuesday's a bad night for wrestling, Mike. I just think we got to get used to it. I mean, NXT is... Why does it look... I thought I saw water on my floor. It's a piece of glass. Ever see glass reflected looks like water? I got a little concerned for me. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't flood this house, did I? But, a lot of people feel that NXT is going back to their roots a little bit, and I point this out too. Whether the roster feels the same way or not, NXT is the minor leagues of WWE. Some wrestlers in NXT, a lot of people feel, are ready for Raw or SmackDown. You could go from Io Shirai to others. And yes, there are some wrestlers on NXT that definitely would do fine on the main roster as long as WWE used them the right way. But overall, NXT is the minor league. So when you see some wrestlers that are not as up to par on NXT, that should be because that is the minor leagues, and that NXT is where they should improve and hone their craft and do better. That's why once WWE starts returning to live events and crowds, out of all of the product they put out there, the one that'll benefit the most going back to live fans and touring a little bit is going to be NXT. They will benefit the most. Because a lot of people, even to this day, don't realize how many NXT house shows were going on leading up to COVID. I mean, you had NXT house shows almost every week. Not everybody that's on NXT television, work television. Not everybody that's on NXT gets to do television. You look at NXT house show results 2 months before COVID, and you'll see a lot of names that you never saw on TV. You're like, oh, shit, I didn't know this. I didn't know. A lot of people to this day still don't realize that. That's why when people were reporting last year that WWE would never go back to house shows again, that would have been an extreme nail in the coffin for NXT and a lot of their younger upcoming stars. They need to work, and they need to have shows, take in live crowds, perform. So NXT will benefit the most. Benjamin, look, you'll see a lot of NXT house shows you probably never knew existed. You'd be surprised. Kyle O'Reilly beating Oney Lorcan yesterday. I thought that match was going to be a lot better than what it was. It was okay. You know, there were points of it that were very entertaining. It was physical. Kyle O'Reilly getting the win in the end. I'll tell you this much. You could see that the fans are behind Kyle O'Reilly. That match and the feud with Adam Cole really helped Kyle O'Reilly. But after the match is over, Pete Dunne attacks Kyle O'Reilly. And I don't understand why you wouldn't do that during the same stuff with Kross and Balor. It would have matched the week before. It would have made sense. Why would Kyle O'Reilly suddenly a week later not give a shit about the NXT Heavyweight Championship and let Balor challenge Kross one-on-one? Why does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. And Pete Dunne especially, no, we just wait until later. And I didn't like that at all. Kushida defeating Santos Escobar, 2 out of 3 falls match. Kushida, again, I'll keep repeating it. I know a lot of you agree. Kushida, to me, is the most over wrestler on the NXT roster. I enjoyed this match yesterday. And, you know, the more I see Santos Escobar, the more I say to myself, okay, now I understand more and more why they didn't bring Andrade back to NXT and keep him. Santos Escobar is in a league of his own. And I don't want to say that Santos Escobar's style and persona is similar to Andrade's, but I personally think that persona, that character, focus on Lucha Libre, his look, everything about him, you keep that just for himself. And the match was excellent yesterday. I know this was the first time they had 2 out of 3 falls for a cruiserweight title, but it felt rushed. I mean, the 3 falls took about 20 minutes, and, you know, the match was great. I don't know if it was necessary to do 2 out of 3 falls, because especially even when Kushida got his win with the arm bar, he could put that on Escobar at any time during the match, but then chooses not to. I enjoyed the match, and they obviously have some great chemistry together. But unfortunately, after last night, it feels like that they will not be having another match after this. MSK, on the other hand, will be feuding a little bit with Legado del Fantasma. Legado was at ringside, and MSK decided to take them out. Then the referee with the typical, you're out of here, you're out of here, you're out of here. And all the focus was on Kushida and Santos Escobar. So, great match, but I don't know. I just wasn't feeling the 2 out of 3 falls. And the fact the rating went down doesn't reflect yesterday. Quarter-hour ratings will be interesting, because I want to see if they took any dips during the night and never recovered from it. That'll be interesting to point out. I'm also a little surprised that they continue to have Karrion Kross appear in the first quarter of the show, first quarter hour. They've done that 2 or 3 times already. They did the first NXT after he won the title. They did it this week, and they did it the week before he won the championship, if I recall. I know the 4-way pull apart last week and everything that went on was later on in the show, but you know, you have your heavyweight champion opening up at a quarter hour that's usually on the light side. So I find that a little bit odd because I probably was looking forward to Kross and Austin Theory almost as much as I was looking forward to Kushida and Escobar. But it's going to be really interesting to see, if there were any major dips and if it's the usual suspects. I mean, what does that say? So they dropped to 697. That's not very good. Unopposed. I mean, AEW tonight, do I think they break 1 million again? Boy, I got to be honest with you. I don't think they break 1 million again. I thought AEW was a decent show tonight. I'm not saying it was a bad show, but if they were thinking they were going to pop some number because SCU could be retiring, I mean, obviously you could see what they did after the match was over. They were ready to move on to the next chapter, so they didn't give a shit all that much about that. Darby Allin versus Miro is going to be a really interesting number to see if Miro popped any type of a rating. We know Darby Allin, I got to look at the last 3 weeks, but I think Darby Allin has popped somewhere in the 9s, 8 to 9s, which is not bad. But I want to see if Darby Allin and Miro could have broken 1 million. I have a feeling it might be just a drop under that. But some of the other stuff, I don't know. I mean, the Inner Circle Pinnacle stuff, it was fun. But I don't know if it tears down. Let me tell you this much. They better hype up something else for next week on Dynamite. Because right now, the card that they're advertising, next week's number might be the lowest so far, unopposed. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't break 9 next week. The matches they're showing right now, I don't see why there would be any excitement towards that. So AEW this week, I know I really haven't focused on the predictions as much, but I think AEW this week, I'm going to go with 944. I don't know if AEW breaks 1 million. If they do, I'll be a little bit surprised. But I'm going to go with 944 for AEW. Pinnacle celebrating today obviously was going to mean something. I don't know if we expected as much involvement with the Inner Circle with them. But some of the other matches, I don't think they were as strong as they portray it to be. So I'm going to go with 944, even though that might be slightly low. I think they could very well be more around 980, but I'll stick with the 944. And NXT, obviously, we know their number already. But NXT next week, there's no reason why their rating should not go up. Their rating has to go up next week. 697 is embarrassing, unopposed, but not surprising. Because the first 3 weeks, they didn't take it very seriously, in my opinion. And it just felt scattered. And I know we're focusing on only one person, but she had probably the most momentum out of any other person on that roster other than Raquel Gonzalez. And for 6 weeks, they've done nothing. 0. We saw a segment where one of them likes to vape. I mean, that's unacceptable. In my opinion, totally unacceptable. So, let's see. Dark Side of the Ring. May 13th will be Nick Gage, which will be today. May 20th, Collision in Korea. May 27th, The Ultimate Warrior. June 3rd, Jake Roberts and family, Grizzly Smith and others. June 10th, Dynamite Kid. I enjoyed the Brian Pillman episode. I talked about it last week. But I did not like the Macho Man A&E documentary at all. And to see their rating go down almost 33%, I don't think it had anything to do with Booker T. I think it was because they left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Because they really went there with Macho Man. And now you look back on it and you say to yourself, no wonder why his widow, his wife, did not take part in this. It felt like a hit job. And they omitted a lot of the personal issues with Steve Austin, because if they would have brought those up, Steve Austin would not have been a part of the A&D documentaries. So they kissed his ass. I mean, let's be honest. They left out a lot of the negative stuff because he's still alive and they wanted him to be on those shows. Roddy Piper, the tragic passing, it's still very fresh in a lot of people's minds. They left out some controversial stuff as well about his private life. But Macho Man, it's gloves off. And I know different people produce these shows, but still, I thought whoever signed off on that one did a terrible job. And I don't think the rating went down so much because it was Booker T. I was looking forward to the Booker T one probably more than any other, because his story should be celebrated a lot more and hasn't. But, the Dark Side of the Ring episode, if you haven't seen the Pillman one yet, I would check it out. I enjoyed it. You'll know about 95% of everything that was discussed. There was a few specific things, more details about the auto accident, about his first wife committing suicide and, a few other things. There was some issues that, I honestly did not know all the details about. But, I thought it was very well done. And you're left with really rooting for Brian Pillman Jr. And you also can't help but really appreciate his aunt. What's his aunt's name again? The one that's trying to keep the Pillman family together. I mean, she's awesome. There should be somebody like her in every family out there, including mine. She was awesome. Linda, thank you very much, Harris. Linda. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to jet out of here. I'm going almost 2.5 hours already. A little bit longer than usual. But, I wanted to give a little bit more time to NXT today. If you go back, I spent almost an hour just now talking about NXT plus a little bit earlier. So it was, I think, a little bit more fair. But, Charlie, you got to look at the Pillman documentary. It was basically mental bullying. No other way to put it. So very, very sad when you watch it. But, before I go, there was a super chat that I didn't want to overlook. It had to do with Santana Garrett. What is WWE doing with Santana Garrett? Her last match, not counting the Rumble, was back on July 1st. I have no idea. I have zero idea what's going on with Santana Garrett. There are quite a few people, and Mish and I were talking about it earlier. I don't know if you heard the Patreon episode yet, but there are, and you know me, I don't like naming names because it's very unfair to name names, especially when you don't know if some of the names you're mentioning are going to be released. I remember, was it last year or the year before, people started speculating names that were going to be released, and I think Naomi was on one of those lists. And I remember her getting very upset on social media, like, I'm reading all this stuff online, and, she wasn't released. But imagine, this is your life, this is your love, and, you wake up to see people online reporting that, Naomi is on the chopping block, and she wasn't the only one. So I don't like naming individual people. But there are a few names right now, in NXT especially, that WWE is seriously considering releasing. The AEW issue is they're not threatened by AEW signing some of these people. But the thing is, they are going to return to more fans attending, and WWE is going to start touring again very, very soon. As a billion-dollar company, it's handled a little bit different than the way AEW handles theirs, especially how wrestlers are handled Yes, they're all independent contractors, but there's a lot of people in AEW who are free to work other companies, but AEW is their number one, as long as it doesn't conflict with AEW. But the way their contracts are structured, it's a lot different than WWE's. So WWE going back on the road, it's handled differently than AEW. But the thing is, NXT especially, there's a lot of names that are literally just on the sidelines with nothing going on. I mean, you saw Jinder Mahal come back, what was it, Veer and Shanky? And, look at what happened with Indira Shear. I mean, after revealing to Keith Lee, think back to how long ago that was. They ended up being on the sidelines for how long? When you talk about WWE saving all this money by releasing a bunch of wrestlers, what about a lot of wrestlers who pretty much have done nothing in almost a year? We were talking about Velveteen Dream on Monday, and if you remember it was either last week or the week before, I said that before the end of May, we should hear something specific about Velveteen Dream. I don't know exactly what they're doing with him right now, but he was at Raw Monday, and yeah, it was unrelated from Monday's show, but we don't know what they're going to do with Velveteen Dream. But you look at some of the other names. Bobby Fish made his return to NXT yesterday. That was noteworthy. But, right now they're not teasing Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly teaming up again. Bobby Fish came to the aid. He made the save yesterday when Pete Dunne and Ole Lorcan were beating down Kyle O'Reilly. But Kyle O'Reilly kind of turned down Bobby Fish. He's like, I'm on my own. And Bobby Fish is like, I totally get it, which I thought was dumb. I thought it was really dumb, and I'll tell you why. Bobby Fish has been out with an injury. Has he had his head under the mud for the last 8 months? We're supposed to believe in storyline that Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish don't pick up the phone and talk to each other every week, that Bobby Fish only found out at NXT yesterday that Kyle O'Reilly is doing his own thing. I know we're not supposed to think that deep, but when, Bobby Fish is like coming to the aid and Kyle O'Reilly's like, I don't know if you know. No, I get it. And I'm like, just think about the stupidity of even that being said on NXT. I don't know I know that everybody likes to break up demos, but is there a demo for the clinically brain dead that we're supposed to believe that these two guys haven't had a conversation on a text message or an email or a phone call in the last 8 months? I tell you, it's just stupid. We shouldn't have to think that deep, but coming across like that yesterday, I thought it was really, really dumb. So I'm going to jet out of here, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Well, I'd be very disrespectful if I didn't do this. So, but in conclusion, the crazy cruiserweight. I don't know what's going to happen with Santana Garrett, but there are quite a few names out there that, they're just pretty much in limbo. And I think WWE kept a decent number of people so when they could return to touring, especially with the NXT stuff. They start going back to these small venues and start working some shows. They need work. Can't just be at the Performance Center. They need work. So you're going to see some of these people taking advantage of that. So shout out to Near. Hopefully everything is a little bit calmer in your neck of the woods. And shout out to our great Patreon family. I did this on Monday. I kind of neglect them a little bit here on YouTube, not intentionally. But, the only reason why I haven't really brought it up in the past is because, what we do here on YouTube is different from Patreon. I don't commingle them. I don't like to because it's two totally different outlets. It's like I said, if you see an actor that's on one TV show and another TV show, they're usually separate. But a lot of my great patrons are patrons, VIPers. They are here as well. They support a lot of what I do, and it's definitely worth while to give a shout out to these very special people who are on our Patreon. If you want to check out Patreon, it's patreon.com/Don Tony. In no way, shape, or form am I doing that as a money grab. If you sign up there, like I said, the big advantages there is every show that I do here is ad-free, so there's no commercials at all. Also, you get every week at least 2 Patreon exclusive shows. So you get 8 to 10 Patreon exclusive podcasts every month that are not heard over here. And we do contests as well. And, I'm on there for all of you out there that still enjoy Kevin Castle and still want to check out stuff that he does. He's still part of that channel. I haven't changed anything there. This way, there's a little bit for everybody. I don't want anybody to feel you sign up over there that you have to like every single piece of every single content. I always tell everybody, I always used to say, as little as $5, you could sign up there. And, there's hundreds and hundreds of podcasts that we have done exclusively there. And what I started doing about a month ago is I started posting retro episodes. Every week I post old DTKC episodes, old Minority Report episodes, some Lost episodes. So if you want to check out a little retro stuff, it's pretty interesting to go back 10, 15 years and hear some of the shows, especially how even the audio quality is advanced over the years. But so there's a little bit stuff going on there. So, but so check that out. And once again, much love to my Patreon family and everybody here. Obviously, I thank you for welcoming me here with open arms. It's still get to familiar here. I'm still working on setting up the Zoom so we could all have some big. My goal is to do an AEW Heels version of the Zoom here, where we could have like 30, 40 people all video conferencing at the same time. That's one of my brainstorm ideas. And I definitely want this page to get even bigger. Not that easy, when you're doing it by yourself. And some people in the past have offered help and have not come through. And there's a few others who offered help, but, came with a pretty steep price. And, the one thing I don't want to do is put myself in major debt, like the other shows. A lot of people, I think, always forget that, going back to 1997, up until 4 years ago, all the money on the shows, I paid it out of my pocket out of love of wrestling and all of you. And, I'm here to stay. So, but, Benjamin, some of the people who wanted to be moderators, you know what? I don't fault any of them because their schedules are, they're not reflective of my schedule a lot. And there's a lot of very good people here that do want to tune in live, but, real life gets in the way. And honestly, when you're watching a pretty shitty Raw, maybe you want to zonk out a little bit earlier. Maybe you want to watch something else, or maybe you get consumed into something that has nothing to do with wrestling. So, it's not that people are just leaving me out to dry. But, some people who offered help as far as call-ins, as far as, setting up, overlays and, stingers and stuff. And when I finally reached out to some of these people, look, I'm working today, could we do this next week? And then I think some people actually just probably got a thrill out of me keep DMing them. Hey man, are you around? You want to work on something? No, I'm still at work right now. Or, and then you realize they're just fucking with you. So, it's all good. It's all good. Lee, I know Lee, he does his own thing. And honestly, man, I'm not complaining because for me, I love being my own boss. I love being in total control of everything that goes on because if anything gets fucked up, then I deserve it because that means I fucked up. Mish, God bless him, he's, addressing some issues. He's been under the weather, not feeling well. But, he was on with me this past Monday. He was on with me earlier today as well. But even, preparing for a Monday show and literally at the 11:04 hour, finding out that I have to suddenly change it to a solo show, that's not very fun to reorganize everything. But when you do it this long, it's not that big of a deal. But I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. So I'm going to jet out of here since we went, I think, a lot longer than I expected to. But we had some great convo. Leave your comments in the comment section. I think you all realize that I now get back to pretty much everybody. May take me a day or two, but, I started responding to a lot of from Monday, and I still have a few from Friday. But if you comment 9 times out of 10, you'll always get a response from me. And again, to my great channel members here, I will be doing the Q&A Friday afternoon. For anybody else out there that wants to know how to be a channel member, very simple. If you look at any of the videos I do, you'll see a box that says join. Trust me, if you click on it, it doesn't immediately sign you up for anything, but there's a little video explains what it's about. It's cool. It's cool. But everyone have a great night. Much love as always. And I'll catch you all again tomorrow night. So I got to dig tomorrow for some retro, like Lenny stuff and everything. So that's going to be fun because I got hours and hours of this nut job just rambling. So, I should have done it a little more organized because just taking little clips from this message or this one, who knows if I accidentally replay something again. But I don't know. We'll have a good show tomorrow. Whatever you feel like getting into, we'll talk about it. But all right, everybody, good night. Be well. I'll catch you tomorrow, 10:05 p.m. Eastern. So take care. Night, everybody.